Since the early 90s, Bay Area trio Green Day has been one of the most celebrated and successful bands in the world, infiltrating the mainstream with their snarling, energetic, and highly melodic brand of pop-punk. From the start, the band took notes from the anarchic attitudes and loud, fast, snotty approach of jittery late 70s punk acts like the Jam and Sham '69, but elevated their blasting sound with pop elements like catchy hooks, tightly arranged song structures, and Beatlesque vocal harmonies. This winning combination made their 1994 major label debut Dookie an enormous breakthrough hit, serving as an entry point to punk for many listeners who were coming of age when it first blasted up the charts. As they soldiered through the ensuing decades, Green Day matured without losing any of the lawless attitude they'd built their sound on, reaching a career peak with 2004 album American Idiot, and expanding their sound to include nods to glam rock, soul, and larger-than-life arena rock on their 13th studio album 2020's Father of All. However, here are some facts about Green Day. Green Day goes full punk. While they began as a rough and rowdy band of punks, by 2012 Green Day was one of the longest-running acts in rock. They'd been together since 1987 and had scored a number of top 40 hits. In fact, the band was booked to play at the 2012 iHeartRadio Festival in Las Vegas, alongside pop stars like Taylor Swift, Rihanna, and Shakira. There were so many acts on the bill that performers had to strictly stick to a schedule. But when a message flashed up on a monitor during Green Day's set, informing singer Billy Joe Armstrong that he had just 1 minute of stage time remaining, the inner punk re-emerged, notes The Atlantic. He cut his performance of Basket Case short in order to deliver a profanity-laced tirade. Then the rock star defiantly proclaimed that he wasn't Justin Bieber and smashed his guitar, threw up a middle finger, and stormed off into the wings. 4 years later, Rolling Stone shed some light on the incident. Armstrong was evidently blackout drunk when he took the stage, and not long after the iHeartRadio Festival, he entered rehab. Dookie was kooky. Green Day recorded 2 albums, 39 Smooth and Kerplunk, in the early 1990s on Indie Lookout Records before signing with Reprise Records, a subsidiary of major label Warner Brothers, in 1993. More than one big company wanted Green Day on its roster, with a bidding war breaking out according to Kerrang, with multiple labels eager to find and lock down the band that would follow the punk-influenced Nirvana in the hearts and minds of young music fans. That would all lead to the recording and 1994 release of Dookie, which would sell 20 million copies, easily placing it among the best-selling punk albums ever and setting up Green Day as one of the biggest bands on the planet for more than 2 decades. But it wasn't all happy vibes and big paychecks when Green Day appeared at 924 Gilman, the punk club in Berkeley, California, where they'd been beloved scenesters for years. Some members of the audience yelled "sellout" at them before the venue banned them entirely for signing that big record deal, as Kerrang explains. The actual recording of Dookie was tough too. Green Day spent nearly 10 times the budget of its first 2 albums on its Reprise debut, and it took 2 months of 12-hour sessions to get the whole thing right. Green Day faced a bizarre lawsuit. According to Acclaimed Music, Green Day's 2004 album American Idiot was one of the best-reviewed records of the 2000s. A departure from the band's usual style, catchy, unrelated 3-minute punk songs coming in at around 3 minutes each. It was a concept album about suburban decay and the presidential policies of George W. Bush, told with long songs and ballads, with such a solid through line that it inspired a Broadway musical of the same name. The band came up with the opus relatively quickly, after scrapping the stolen and lost albums Cigarettes and Valentines, but according to a man from Northern California, Green Day didn't write a single note of American Idiot. In October 2006, Paul McPike, a man living in Medford, Oregon, and working as a grocery store cashier, according to the Mail Tribune, filed a copyright infringement suit in U.S. District Court alleging that he wrote all the songs on the album in the early 1990s and publicly performed them, in a way singing them for his friends at Independence High School in Sutter Creek, California, in 1992. He claims to have written letters to Green Day and their label Warner Brothers Records, but after not hearing back, he sued, asking for part of the substantial royalties generated by American Idiot. Judge John Cooney immediately recommended to dismiss the case. Don't call Green Day a pop-punk band. Green Day can boast some true blue punk rock bona fides, Active for years as a live act and independent recording artist well before the 1994 release of major label debut Dookie, Green Day was among the many loud, heavy, snotty bands following the punk tradition as part of the Northern California scene in the late 1980s, a frequent performer among many at a gritty club at 924 Gilman Street in Berkeley, according to KQED. Green Day toned down the less radio-friendly aspects of punk to create a more widely palatable and commercially viable sound, one that was frequently imitated in the late 90s and 2000s by acts like Blink-182, Good Charlotte, Sum 41, and Fall Out Boy. It's a genre that came to be known as pop-punk, according to NME, but just because Green Day pioneered that movement doesn't mean they want to be considered a part of it. My mission for 2016, Green Day frontman Billy Joe Armstrong tweeted in late 2015, to destroy the phrase pop-punk forever. In 2021, Armstrong explained his feelings to Vulture. I never thought of myself as a pop artist, I've always been left of center. To say you're a pop-punker, it never sat well with me. He said, it seemed like a silly way of trying to kind of create a genre or a sub-genre. Green Day versus Woodstock. The frightening events of Woodstock '99, primarily a destructive and fiery riot prompted by price-gouging water vendors and an inciting Limp Bizkit performance, have left the chaos of Woodstock '94 almost completely forgotten. The three-day festival held in Saugerties, New York, was meant to pay homage to the iconic but messed up Woodstock concert of '69 but also showcase the bands important to Generation X, such as Metallica, 9 Inch Nails, and Green Day. The punk trio, one of the biggest emerging acts of the year to that point, took the stage on day 3, and attendees were anxious, exhausted, and tired of getting rained on for 3 days. Singer Billy Joe Armstrong didn't help. "How are you doing, you rich motherfucker?" he asked before the band started playing. The crowd answered by hurling mud bombs at the band as they tried to play the hits off Dookie. About 2/3 of the way through their 35-minute slot, the set had descended into a thick, two-way mudball fight between band and crowd. Armstrong mockingly yelled to spectators, a frustrated Mike Dirnt added. Instant karma hit hard though. When he tried to leave the stage, the mud-covered bassist was tackled by a security guard, knocking out part of a tooth.